This is the seed paper bark protector design by Group Share 2. For our initial research, the group decided to look into existing solutions that there already are. In the given table, we compared some of the most common solutions to our criteria. The criteria we were given was to make our design accessible, biodegradable, low cost, and aesthetically pleasing. The solutions we looked into were drain pipe barriers, fencing, knitted designs, plastic coils, wraps, and flower beds. As you can see from the table provided, the flower bed design fits most of our criteria. Because of this, we decided to try and implement it into our design. When the time came to propose our project, we had decided on an adjustable flower bed to have around the base of a tree. This design would have an adjustable tie to secure the flower bed around the bottom of any size tree. Our hopes for this design would be to divert lawnmowers and trimmers away and prevent any harm to the trees. This idea saves the cost of hiring a gardener to plant the usual flower beds and would be faster to install. After the project proposal, we did a deep dive into researching patents. The 4 main patents that influenced our design are the tree and shrub protector, the planter protector, the fence plant cover, and the fertilizer ring. The first one shown is the tree and shrub protector. This design is a tall barrier that can hold gallons of water, which can later be used for the roots through drip irrigation. This design made us look into ways to make our design multi-purpose. Just like this design protects the tree and also provides nutrients to the roots. The second patent shown is the planter protector. This one is made out of a hard cone-shaped structure which wraps around the given plant. At the bottom, it has spikes to secure the cover into the ground. The group looked into using a shape like this one, but ultimately ruled against it because it didn't allow for tree growth. The next patent is the fence plant cover. This one has a square-shaped fencing made out of chicken wire that surrounded the base of a tree. We thought that this design would be successful, but it didn't meet our criteria of being aesthetically pleasing. The final patent given is a fertilizer ring. This is a structure made from a mixture of manure, water, and paper waste that lays at the bottom of a tree. We wanted to implement the idea of having lines of weakness in our creation just like this one to have an easier installation. This patent also ended up giving us the idea of implementing fertilizer into our paper mixture.
First idea we brought forward was a circular mesh base layer that would hold soil while having native flowers mixed into it. The product would be rolled up as a cone in storage and unraveled at the moment of installation. During the first meeting, it was established that the product would require a fast installation time and it would be ideal if it didn't take up a lot of space when in storage. Our design would also need to be biodegradable and aesthetically pleasing. Since we opted for a product that would create a perimeter around the base of the tree, it was determined that a maximum perimeter of 1 meter would be required. After the meeting, we determined that we needed to find a way to keep the seeds in place and the soil compact. We also wished to incorporate fertilizer into our design and add an extra layer of protection. To do so, we decided to replace the soil with a sheet of paper that would have the flower seeds embedded in it. This would ensure the seeds stayed in place and eliminate the soil problem entirely. We also decided to add a modular fence that would be placed at the perimeter of the paper using the spikes at the bottom of the fence to keep the paper in place. This would allow for a physical barrier between the flower bed and any equipment. The spikes on the fence would be coated in fertilizer for added functionality.
During the second meeting with the city, we discussed our new seed, paper, and fence design idea. The client asked many questions about our design, such as if the fence is necessary, what prep work would be required, and how much it would cost. He also suggested using wooding or bamboo stakes to hold the paper down. He informed us that the budget per tree would be around $10 to $20, however, the cheaper the better. After the meeting, we realized that the fence barrier and the mesh layer underneath were not needed in our design. Without having the fence as part of the design, the product was now much cheaper, making it less than $5 per tree. The team took the time to reach out to McPhail Woods after the meeting in order to learn more about the native flowers and what seeds would work best with our design. With our design, prep work would be necessary for optimal results. This preparation includes tilling the soil around the tree prior to placing the seed paper. If possible, watering the seed paper shortly after placing it would also help speed up the growing process. Watering the seeds and flowers will be necessary if there are dry spells during the first year of planting.
We made the final decision to create the seed paper design that would grow to create a flower bed base around the tree. Because of the simplicity of this design, we were able to make several prototypes that would test different production methods. This design is easy and cost efficient to make. Once we perfect our production method, we would be able to make this in larger batches, which would be more time efficient. For our first prototype, we created a wooden frame that had chicken wire in order to filter the paper and water mix. After creating this prototype, we found the paper produced was very thin and that the chicken wire didn't do a very good job of filtering the mix. For our second prototype, we added a blue sponge material on top of the chicken wire to increase the filtration. However, this wasn't successful as the paper mix wasn't able to get through fully and dried to the material in a bad way. The paper produced was very thin, was not flat, and was very hard to remove, which meant that it would not be sturdy enough to create a base around the tree. It would also be very hard to incorporate seeds into this design, which means that we could not use it for our design. For our third prototype, we replaced the blue sponge material with cheesecloth for the filtration, which worked a lot better and produced a very good quality of paper. We also increased the paper pulp to water mix, which also increased the thickness of the paper, which was what we needed. On top of these changes to the paper mix and filtration, we also made a new frame, which increased the ability to make consistent shapes, which would be necessary when producing our final product. We added the seeds to the paper mix right as it was filtering, as this meant the seeds were able to get throughout the paper and evenly spread. Another benefit of using the cheesecloth as the filtering method meant that it was very easy to remove, which meant that we didn't suffer any breakages when removing the final product. This is an image of our finished prototype, which was cut into the circular shape that we would be using to imitate the flower bed around the base of the tree. It would be cut in half for easy installation, and the circle cut out in the middle is custom to fit the base of the tree. We would also be adding the little note shapes that can be seen here, which would have simple messages on to add caution to any people walking by to ensure that they do not step on the actively growing flower beds. Moving forward, there are definitely some extra tasks we would like to complete in order to make our final product even better. One of the first things we would do would find a way to make the paper visible once it is decomposed, as right now once the paper gets wet and starts to decompose, it becomes invisible, which would mean that as the flower bed is growing, passers-by would not see it, neither would the lawnmowers or whippersnippers, which takes away the point of the flower bed. We would also like to find a manufacturer that would be able to mass produce this paper if our design went to production, as we would not be able to keep up with the quantity at our production level. We would also like to look into the seeds that we are using in more depth if we had more time, as we would like to ensure that the individual species that we are using are getting the correct care that they need, specifically with the fertilizers and nutrients added. Also, regarding production methods, we would like to make a circular frame or mold, which would be able to make the circular shapes a lot easier compared to the square shaped we're using right now, and then cutting out the circle individually. Also, regarding the individual messages for each item, we would like to use a non-toxic ink, as the Sharpie that we use for the prototype may damage the surrounding environment, which is not what we want.